They say some stories are just legends. But what if the screams were real? Tonight, we dive into a tale that was never meant to be told. One that still haunts the place where it happened. Turn off the lights. Plug in your headphones. Because once you hear it, you'll never sleep the same again. This is The Unspoken Midnight.
The air was very still as Mark's old truck stopped working on a dusty, forgotten road. He said some bad words. The quiet afternoon pressed in on him. His GPS, which wasn't working well, had died 20 miles back. Now he was stuck deep in the forest, far from any town on a map. Then he saw it. A small puff of smoke in the distance, showing that people might live there. Hope, a weak feeling, came to him. He grabbed his bag, a bottle of water, and started walking. The road was covered with weeds and broken concrete. It led him to an old, metal gate that was rusty and half buried in plants. Above it, a faded sign, hard to read, said, Echo Falls. Est. 1892. Echo Falls. He had never heard of this place. Past the gates, a narrow, tree-lined street opened into a town that looked perfectly old, but was strangely quiet. 2-story houses with porches stood in neat rows. Their windows were dark. Their paint was peeling but mostly still there. A small store with a faded cover, a little church with a bent roof, and even an old gas station lined the main street. But there was no one. No cars. No sounds. Only the quiet buzz of bugs and the faraway sound of water, the falls, probably. Mark called out, his voice swallowed by the huge, heavy quiet. Hello? Is anyone here? Only his own voice came back to him. He walked past the houses, looking into windows. Inside, furniture was covered with white sheets, as if the people had just left for a moment, planning to come back. A game of checkers, not finished, sat on a porch swing. A child's forgotten doll lay on the ground near a fence. It felt wrong. Like a picture frozen in time, but with no life. No dust floated in the light inside the houses, which should have been full of it after many years. No spider webs. It was too clean. Too perfect. He tried the door of the small store. It was unlocked. He pushed it open, and a faint bell jingled above him. The sound was very loud in the quiet. Inside, shelves held canned goods, faded boxes of cereal, and glass jars of candy, all untouched. A calendar on the wall showed. October 1923. Old feeling went down his back. 1923? How could a place stay so well for 100 years? He spent the next hour looking carefully, his growing worry fighting with a strange interest. The schoolhouse still had chalk on the blackboards, lessons half written. The church benches were neatly placed, hymn books open on some of them. Every building was the same, perfectly still, perfectly empty. As evening began, turning the sky orange and purple, a new kind of fear settled in. This wasn't just left empty, it was missing. It felt like the people had just disappeared. All at once. Without a sign. He found the town well, still flowing with cool, clear water, and drank a lot. The sun went down, and the shadows grew longer, making the pleasant town feel like a scary place. He knew he couldn't stay outside for the night. The small store, with its strong wooden door, seemed like the safest place. Inside, he blocked the door with a stack of old flour sacks and an empty barrel. The single window was too high to easily secure, but he covered it with a heavy cloth. He lay down on the floor behind the counter, using his bag as a pillow. The faint moonlight coming through the cloth made the room a mix of unclear shapes. He couldn't sleep. Every small sound of the old building, every whisper of the wind outside, sounded much louder. He imagined eyes watching him from the dark windows of the houses across the street. He imagined footsteps on the dusty road. Then he heard it. A faint, very quiet scratching sound. It seemed to come from the back of the store. He held his breath, listening hard. Scratch. Scratch. Steady, soft. He slowly, carefully, took out the small, dull knife he used for camping from his bag. His hand shook. He had to know what it was. He crept towards the back, past dusty shelves of forgotten things. The scratching became clearer, leading him to a door at the very back of the store, usually for deliveries. It was closed, but the sound was clearly coming from behind it. He put his ear to the wood. The scratching was joined by a low, rough breathing, like something big and heavy struggling. And then, a faint, wet sniffing sound. His blood turned cold. This was not a rat. He moved back, slowly, until his back hit the counter. He looked around the room quickly. There had to be another way out. The front door was blocked. Suddenly, the scratching got stronger, followed by a loud thud that made the whole door shake. Whatever was behind it was trying to get in. Fear took over him. He ran towards the front, climbing quickly over the things he had used to block the door. His heart beat fast. He fumbled with the latch, his fingers numb with terror. As he finally pulled the door open, another thud came from behind him, louder this time, followed by a sound of wood breaking. He burst out onto the moonlit street, gasping for air. The town was still. The houses were like quiet guards. He ran, not caring where he was going, just away. He ran past the church, the schoolhouse, his feet hitting the broken road hard. As he got near the edge of town, the faint sound of water from Echo Falls grew louder. He remembered seeing a path leading down to what looked like a deep valley. Maybe he could hide there, follow the river. He left the road, pushing through thick bushes, his lungs burning. The roar of the falls became very loud. He broke through the last trees and found himself on the edge of a steep drop. He looked down into a huge valley where a strong river raged, falling into a swirling pool below. The moonlight lit up the mist rising from the falls, making shiny, short-lived rainbows. And then he saw them. They stood in the mist, right at the edge of the moving water, hundreds of them. Shapes, see-through and pale, arranged in perfect, quiet rows. Men, women, children. Their faces, what he could see through the mist, were thin, their eyes wide and staring, their mouths open in never-ending, silent screams. They were all looking up at him. His blood froze in his body. These were the people of Echo Falls. Stuck. Silent. And waiting. A low, shared groan, a sound that was more a shake than a noise, seemed to come from the many ghostly figures below. The air became terribly cold. The smell of wet earth and rotting leaves filled his nose, mixed with something else, something metallic and sweet. He stumbled backward, his foot catching on a loose rock. He fell, scraping his hands on the rough ground. As he pushed himself up, he heard it again, clearer this time. The scratching. It was coming from behind him. He turned fast. Standing at the edge of the trees, where he had just come out, was a huge, unclear shape, much too big to be a person. It moved slowly and smoothly. Its shape changed in the faint moonlight, like a shadow that had become real. A low, wet snuffling sound came from it, a sound he now knew from the back of the small store. The creature stepped out of the shadows. It was very big, somewhat like a human, but its skin was like old, wet earth, covered in roots and moss. Its head was not clear, with no clear parts, just two bright, scary eyes that glowed with a cold, evil light. And from its long, clawed fingers, a single, sharp, black glass-like piece stuck out, dragging on the ground, making the scratching sound. It was moving towards him, slowly, surely. He looked back at the hundreds of ghost-like figures in the valley. Their silent screams now seemed to get stronger. Their pale forms reached towards him. He understood then. They were not stuck, they were waiting. Waiting for him. The creature took another step, closer. The air around it became heavy, making it hard to breathe. He could feel its cold breath on his face. He had two choices, the quiet, waiting hole of the falls, or the huge monster coming towards him. A choice between two ways to be taken. He closed his eyes, a single, choked cry escaping his lips. He heard the creature's next, heavy step. He felt the cold air as it reached him, and then, silence. A deep, complete silence, broken only by the faraway, unseen rush of Echo Falls.
Still think it's just a story? Then why do the locals never speak of it? If you enjoyed this nightmare, hit that like button. Or the shadows might come looking for you. Subscribe for more real horrors, told in the dark. And remember, every story has a truth, even the ones you wish weren't real.